You all set?
Yep, let's go.
Okay. Just get this stuff organized here a little bit. Okay, it is 7 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everyone to the planning board meeting. Would you join in a pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Catherine, you want to call the roll, please?
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Kashani.
Here.
Mr. Giardina.
Here.
Mr. Kosel.
Here.
Mr. Malta.
Here.
Mrs. Maltman.
Here.
Mr. Gaskin.
Here.
Ms. Corsi.
Here.
Mr. Artuso.
Here.
Attorney Chardy.
Here.
Okay, I guess we're pretty well set. We have a pretty lengthy agenda here this evening. Nothing has been tabled at this point, so I guess we can just go ahead and get started. First application, Mark, you want to?
Waterview Phase 3 located in the northwest corner of Willow Point Way and Nautical Mile Drive. The applicant, Legacy Development Company Incorporated, is requesting preliminary final site plan subdivision, EPOD permit approval, and LWRP consistency recommendation, along with a public hearing associated with the proposed construction of 6 two-story townhouse-style buildings consisting of a total of 56 residential units and 1 community center on a 13.5-acre parcel located in an MHR medium-high residential district under sections 269-11, 330-4, and 350-14 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Okay, yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Chris Nadler, General Counsel for Mark IV Enterprises. With me here today is David Cox, our design engineer from Passero Associates. Chris DiMarzo, our owner and president of Mark IV, will join us in a few minutes. He just texted he's stuck in a traffic jam. We're here in front of this board at long last. It seems like it's been a while since I've seen you all. We have been hard at work with town staff hammering out issues. But I just want to go briefly again over the project history, where we've been, where we are now, and where we'd like to go. And go over briefly some of the comments and changes we've made over the last several months. And then answer any questions. David and I are both available. As you know, decades ago, this project was approved for a 7-story mid-rise on this parcel. It was reduced to a 5-story mid-rise, and we obtained permits from the DEC for docks and moorings down on the bay. And then earlier this year, or last year, we came in for 2 3-story buildings with 90 units. We met with this board a few times. We met with the zoning board a few times, and we talked to town staff, heard from our neighbors, and reduced the project significantly to 56 townhouse-style apartments. In the fall of last year, this board declared its intent to be lead agency and commenced seeker coordinated review. And we appeared in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals and received required variances for the project, including front setback and another variance that we needed. Since that time, we've been working diligently with town staff, your town engineering staff, highway sewer department, planning department, and responding to comments about drainage, potential wetlands, stormwater management systems, dock permit conditions, which in December, Mr. Artuso spoke with DEC and realized that, or we realized that there were conditions of the dock permit that was issued, I don't know, 2 decades ago, that the DEC has been renewing for us every 5 years. We're not planning on building docks as part of this application, so what's just in front of you is just the subdivision application and the site plan application. We also talked to town staff about construction phasing. worked out a detailed plan that you have in front of you, as well as various easements that the project requires. Tonight, we're seeking from this board a negative declaration of environmental significance under seeker, an LWRP, Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, determination of consistency, an EPOD permit, Environmental Protection Overlay District permit, subdivision approval, and preliminary site plan approval, as well as final site plan approval. I believe we've worked for over a year with town staff and this board, as well as the zoning board and the DEC, and the boards have all the information necessary to issue those approvals. So now I'd open it up, ask the board if there are any questions that we're happy to answer.
Okay, well, with that, we can get started, I guess. First of all, anybody have any concerns or questions? Derek?
I'd actually like to talk to you about the dock permit. As I'm reading through the permit, it has been continuously renewed by Legacy Development.
Okay.
You know, they send in, they request, and then DEC.
Can you speak up? I can't quite hear you.
So DEC, Legacy Development has been renewing this permit every, I don't know, is it every 10 years or whatever, since it was first put in. It's done at their request, and DEC's been doing it administratively.
Okay.
And so the reason this is related directly to this project is that Appendix B of this permit clearly says that parcel 2, which is included in this project, shall be conveyed to the Genesee Valley Land Trust as a condition of the permit for the docks. And so my question to you
Okay.
is that, well, it's not only Lot 2, it's also a lot across the road from it. I guess my question to you is that, why hasn't that property ever been transferred?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had said this earlier. We're not building the docks as part of this application.
No, I understand that,
Oh,
but you have been actively renewing the permit ever since it was issued. So you have the understanding and you know that the property was supposed to have been transferred. It says on here within 45 days after the effective date of this renewal. That
Okay.
property has never been transferred in accordance with the permit.
I don't understand
my-
the question.
The question is, why have you not transferred the property as a condition of this permit?
Oh, because we haven't built the docks, and we're not planning on building them. If we do go to build the docks, we'll work that out with the DEC.
If that's the point there, because that is a condition of this permit that you have been actively renewing, then I think as a board, we need to notify DEC that this permit needs to be withdrawn. It is not a valid permit because if you go through with this development, you're building on the neighboring property. You're merging one of the parcels into the main, where the buildings are.
Oh, okay, understood.
You're
We-
subdividing the whole parcel, you're doing away with one of those parcels that you committed to transferring to the Genesee Valley Land Trust. So this permit is null and void.
No, I think
From
that's.
now on until the future, it has
All
to be
right,
go
hang
away
on.
completely.
That's misleading. We did not commit to convey that to the Genesee Land Trust. We committed to, as part of a dock permit, if and when we build docks, that we'll deal with the DEC on that. But I don't want, I think that's a little disingenuous to say we've committed to convey a parcel when that's not even a little bit what we've done.
Subject to the
As
terms
part of a
stated in
dock permit,
Appendix
excuse
G
me,
of
as
permit
part of a
shall
dock
not
permit,
conduct.
we would have to do that. As I've said a couple times now, we're not building docks as part of this
I
application.
understand that, but you are making it to a condition that this permit that you have been actively renewing, you cannot meet anymore. So
Understood.
Therefore, this permit would become null and void based on any action that we would take tonight regarding this parcel. And DEC must be notified that you are pulling the permit, once again. Because looking through the record, this permit has been, as part of the development at the beginning, it was pulled. It wasn't going to be part of any project, and then it reappeared at some point, probably when they did phase 2 of this project. The map that we have is in conformance with what's in the permit itself. So you have a development that you've been actively renewing the permit for on the understanding that, okay, once the docks are built, you're to convey the property. Now you are before the board with a development that makes this permit null and void. Which do you want in the future? Do you want this development, or do you want to notify DEC that you're pulling the permit application, this permit that you've been renewing?
We're
For
here
several
seeking a
years.
site plan approval and subdivision approval for this project. I can't stop you, Derek, from notifying the DEC of anything.
Why wouldn't you notify them?
I don't understand the question.
You're
I
moving.
understand your point.
Okay, so why wouldn't you notify them? Hey, we've changed our mind, we want to pull this permit. Why you've been renewing the permit? When you've had no intention, I guess, of transferring the property as was negotiated as part of this permit.
Again, that's a little disingenuous to accuse me of that, but I understand your point. Thank you.
No. I think that's, the attorney is just questioning me. He's saying, do they have any intention of building the docks? And my point there would be, no. There is no intent to build the docks currently, so.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying,
So the
but where
permit,
does it, where does that?
the permit
excuse
must be
me,
pulled.
Where's that coming into this if there's nothing going on with that at this point?
So this permit must be pulled as part of this project.
So can that be a stipulation put into the resolution?
They would have to make sure they follow up on it.
Okay, so if we put that in a
And
resolution
actually,
with that,
we should notify the DEC to terminate this permit
okay,
as a
so,
board.
so you feel that the town should notify them of this, correct?
Of
Okay.
termination of this permit.
Which can be done, correct?
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
All right, so.
So
all
in the
right, next.
future, it's not like they're ever gonna come back and say, oh, we had this permit.
No.
Because this permit's not valid anymore.
So part of the contingency on the approval could be that they notify them and the town notifies that there is no application or it's rescinded for the dock.
As long as
I
they're-
can't see holding a project up like this for something as minor as that, see? That's just my
Yeah, we're
opinion.
comfortable with that condition, Derek. Thank you.
If this was just coming in, this thing has been going on, we've been beating this thing to death for ever. And somewhere along the line, I mean, it's been open, again, this is a public hearing, so if there are people here to speak, we will open it to the public.
So I guess the other item is dealing with the wetlands, the new wetland regulations. We do have a letter from Passero that says they went out and took some pictures of it. Within the letter, they talk about doing a desktop review of the location of wetlands, which specifically under the new regulation says you can't do anymore. You can't rely on those mappings. So has the delineation, an actual delineation been done? And an application submitted to DEC for a jurisdictional determination?
There has been an application submitted to DEC. Nothing in the regulations says you can't do, quote, a desktop delineation. We have worked diligently with town staff, including the town planning board attorney, town director of development, town planner, and town engineer and assistant town engineer on that matter. I think our most recent submission shows that there isn't a wetland in the location that may be identified on the EAF map or whatever the substitution of that is under the new regulations.
Yeah, the new regulations say you
Yeah.
can't rely on that information anymore. So you say you have submitted to the DEC.
Yeah.
Have we received a copy of that submission?
I don't think you get a copy of the submission. We have some information about it. I'm sure the town has whatever we've submitted.
And we have not yet.
Email saying that they received it.
When was that application filed?
A few weeks ago, when the issue came up, in January, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't know the exact date.
I mean, my understanding is under the new regulations, there's a transitional period. And it's only effective if an application was filed before January 1st, otherwise the new regulations apply. And like Derek mentioned, I concur with that understanding. And even if you go onto the web portal to DEC, it says that it's only for reference and it's not comparable to an actual JD application or actual physical response back from the DEC indicating if a wetland delineation needs to be occurred or not. But during the transitional period, again, according to 664.1 as a section, the only time that you're granted a transition period is if you have a DC wetland permit in hand, a final environmental impact statement completed, or a site plan approval by municipality. So otherwise, you fall under the new jurisdiction requirement of applications. So you performed a site visit. Was there GPS data collected? Has that been submitted to DEC, or did you just file a JD and waiting for a response from the DEC?
So I think we can get around those details. No GPS data has been submitted to the DEC. So what the actual regulations say that took effect in January 1 is that we have the option of submitting a jurisdictional determination request. They do not require a jurisdictional determination request as part of this review. This board is tasked with addressing and evaluating wetlands, impact to wetlands, as part of your seeker process. But this board can do that based on New York State law as interpreted and promulgated by the court system and New York State town law and New York State seeker regulations based on the information you have. The way the regulations read, not the way the DEC keeps talking about it, but the actual regulations say, if it's a wetland, then you may need a jurisdictional determination. So it would be predicated on it being wet. So what we've shown you is that there's no area that could be a wetland.
Correction on that, there's multiple criteria to delineate a wetland. It is not just if it's saturation. It also consists of the hydrology of the soil and actual vegetation plantings that are existing there, as well as microbial environment conditions. It's not just if
Exactly.
it's wet or not.
Yes, absolutely. That's my lawyer speak, as is it wet or not? I didn't just mean is it wet. I meant, did somebody who's what's her name, environmental biologist, go out there and say, could this possibly be a wetland? And she said no. Was there delineation? No, we're not saying that there was, but that's not required at this stage. Now,
Well, I guess a point of clarification, and if you can assist me with, is if we're tasked with determining if there's a wetland or not, but information wasn't provided to justify from DEC or from a delineator that there is in fact or is not in fact wetlands out there, how are we going to make that determination without requesting JD or wetland delineation?
well, you could probably take the word of environmental biologist who's employed by Pastor Associates, who's professionally licensed engineer, has stamped all the items in this application. You could probably go look. Does it look like it could be a wetland? No. But I think that's self-evident. If, the DEC regulations can confuse people, I understand that. But I think hopefully we've worked that out with your legal advisors and your town staff to make it clear that that's not necessarily an impediment to making a seeker determination.
I mean, I just want to disagree with that. I think it's the applicant's responsibility and due diligence to provide that information, since the applicant is requesting the seeker.
Thank you.
Can something like this keep moving forward, subject to these items being resolved down the road? Do you agree?
Yeah, I guess that's the question, is are you willing to have a conditional approval subject to the DEC coming back with their opinion relative to the jurisdictional determination? Also, the DEC has allowed for a streamline of this approval if you have a third-party person who has, an expert who has performed, which you have with Passero. So I guess the question would ultimately, the legal question, which is what I think why I'm being asked,
Mhm.
is whether or not some type of conditional approval, conditioned to having that DEC review and approval, and ultimately we determining, the DEC determining that delineation is not required, and that it's not a wetland. If we put that in the approval, what's your position with regards to that?
Seems that would be fine with us. I don't think it's necessary, but to move this along, of course, we'd be happy, we'd be appreciative of this board if you would move it along like that. You know, if it's a wetland, we can't build on it. The DEC would take us to court before we got,
Sure.
you know, to the second day of construction. So that's what the DEC's enforcement mechanism is. It's not this board. That being said, if that's the condition you want to impose, absolutely.
And then
That's fine.
to follow that up,
Yep.
you are seeking the DEC's determination.
Yeah,
jurisdictional
we've submitted for it
determination.
already.
And obviously, what you just said is important for this board. You wouldn't want to build on something without getting that
We couldn't, yeah, absolutely.
jurisdictional review.
Correct.
I mean, I do, and again, I apologize, I'm new to the board. This is my
Hi, welcome.
second month here. I understand there's history to this project, and I understand that there have been probably years involved in this back and forth communication. I don't understand why there's a need to vote a conditional negative declaration on something that can be reached out to the DEC and just gotten a clarification and be addressed at the next meeting. If a JD needed to be submitted, or especially as us being the lead agency for this application. I don't understand why there needs to be a rush into even including a conditional portion language into it. And honestly, I'm not even sure we can include conditional approvals in a negative declaration under seeker. But my point of view is it wouldn't hurt to have a call with the DEC and get that clarification prior to issuing conditions or approving a seeker process without having that in hand as a lead agency.
So how long would something like that, you feel, take to resolve?
I feel like a phone call and a response can be within a month completed. A filing of the JD is my understanding now. Within 2 to 3 days, you should be getting back an email saying if you need to perform wetland delineations or not.
Well,
So if
Yeah.
if this was done along the same lines, but just making these items, we do have a few items, obviously, there's no question, but just make them subject to these things being resolved. This is, to me, this is a very small part of this whole project. The project, to me, is the development, the traffic, where there's a wetland, there's a puddle on the bank, I could care less, to be honest. You know, and let the DEC argue that.
But
And they can argue
again,
with them.
we're the lead agency in this. The DEC is a consultant party to us as the lead
Mhm.
agency.
Yes?
Essentially, we're granting approval prior to getting feedback from the consultant agency.
So we're granting
involved in
it, making it subject to them agreeing with it. If not, it's null and void.
so on January 6, 2025, the DEC responded to the coordinated review effort by the town under seeker and did not say that a jurisdictional determination would be required. It's a 9-page letter. I read it again this afternoon. So I think that's your answer. Nobody here works for DEC. They can carry their own water. You don't have to. We're going to have to deal with DEC,
Right.
obviously.
That's my point.
But keep in
But-
mind,
No, that would-
new regulations, the transitional period does not apply in this case. So we have to follow the new regulations since we don't meet those 3 criteria of the transitional period.
Okay, we've got a long agenda here this evening, and I'm not going to spend the evening just talking about DEC on this thing.
Well, I would.
This is, excuse me,
You know, I
This is-
understand where you're coming from, but you made a statement earlier that I think is actually very concerning. You know, DEC with its new regulations is put it prominent that they're going to protect the wetlands of the United States. And by you, as a board member, saying that you can care less about the wetlands, That doesn't fit.
Stop, Grandin,
No,
please
you-
stop
no,
your
you-
show here.
You,
Please stop your show.
you made a statement that the reason
You
that
taking it literally
DEC is
word
doing
for
this
word?
regulation, okay?
You taking
Regardless, one thing it doesn't matter what it is.
My
The
point there,
concept of a conditional.
Derek, excuse me a second, please. My point there is simply, this is a small part of this overall project.
Yes.
They've had people survey it already. Their determination
haven't.
is there is no wetland there.
They have not done a delineation.
Okay, but this is something that I'm saying, let them move forward with that, let them do what they have to do, let them deal with the DEC instead of us here. Let them resolve this issue with them. We move forward with it, subject to them getting the okay from the DEC. This is no different than things we've done in the past.
I don't believe we can do conditional because we are waiting for some more technical information. And according to like the seeker handbook, that's, you can't do a conditional seeker declination if you're waiting for additional technical information. It specifically says at 4 or 5 places within the document that it's not allowed.
Mr. Nadler, what do you,
I mean, you can do what you, I don't have an answer anymore. I think this board can take such action as it wants. It can condition its decisions. That's very clear. I don't think this board, if this board as a whole is comfortable moving forward, you can do so. If Derek wants additional information and Mr. Gasek wants additional information, I think they would have to convince a couple other board members that they wanted additional information as well. At this point,
okay.
we would ask that you open the public hearing, take comments, and move forward.
I just want to clarify, all I'm asking is
Let's
for
go.
a month. All I'm asking is for a month in order to get feedback from DEC. That's all I was asking.
Okay, again, this is a public hearing, so what we'll do, we'll open it for anyone that wishes to speak. Just ask that you go up to the microphone, give us your name and address. Anyone wishing to comment on this? Again, this is a public hearing, if not,
I did have some just quick questions about the actual
hold on, let me get a
design.
response
but-
from the
okay.
people. Anyone, no one wishing to speak? Okay, if that's the case, then we're gonna, at this point, close the public hearing for Waterview. Okay, go ahead, Jerry, what'd you say?
I just had some couple quick questions on
Uh-huh.
the design. Josh, if you want to maybe pan to those, like one of the areas, at the entryways of all the road accesses, if we could incorporate stop signs. I didn't see any in the drawings. There's 2 areas that are called out for snow removal. There's concrete curbs there, maybe do transitional.
Sorry,
There's 2 areas that have snow removal indicated within the vicinity of the community center, but they have curbing in those areas. If you can do transitional curbing, or maybe remove those so that you can plow the snow in those areas.
yep.
One of the snow storage areas on the south side is very close to a residential patio that's going to be right there. So, we usually have a high amounts of snow. I just don't think that area is realistic for snow storage. It's going to be right up against the residential property there. The retaining walls used have ornamental fencing. There are a location, building 1 specifically, Josh, on the southwest. There's a 10-foot drop after that retaining wall coming from that garage. I know I'm being overly cautious, over concerning, but if you have a rolling car, will that ornamental fencing hold the car? Maybe consider using like a timber guardrail in that area, just because it's a 10-foot drop after that goes down. I was wondering, just on the grading on the northwest corner of Building 6, how that transition is happening with all the retaining walls, if we can get a clarification, just how that's all being tied in on the northwest side.
Hang on, slow down, can we show, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, so you indicate a retaining wall here, but no additional grading or no additional topo to the northwest. of where that retaining wall abuts those contours.
Is there an answer to that?
Yeah, they're tying right into existing grade. So whatever the existing grade is, that would be the bottom of the wall elevation.
Okay. And I had another comment, just if you wouldn't mind evaluating the landscaping plan, it seems that you have some prominent tree species that are going to be within your pipe network. Deep roots, they're going to go right into the drainage structures and everything that you've indicated there. Just consideration given for long-term success of the drainage structures that
Where are
are
you
there.
addressing it, in landscaping, you said?
Yeah, in the landscaping plan, there's some larger trees, like right there, PN2. You have two of them that are PN, and they're right along the line of your drainage structures. So just, if you wouldn't mind taking a look at that. I guess this is minuscule, but yeah, if you look at between building 4 and building 5, you have a garage. So somebody's going to pull out of the garage at night, turn on the lights, and they could potentially shine right into the window of the second story of building 5. Again, if you relocate those trees or move them, just keep that in mind, that you do, something for visual or maybe to break up the light. You have that scenario in a couple locations, even on the east side between building 4 and 3, and then also between building 2 and building 1, where you have, vehicles that are going to be exiting the garage with potentially lights on. One thing to note, you have existing vegetation along Willow Point Way. Is the intention to remove that vegetation or keep it, the existing trees that are there?
All the ones that are shown are meant to remain.
Okay. There's, I believe, 2 that are in the driveway, if you're removing them. And then if you wouldn't mind indicating how you're going to protect them, because there's some grading that is that's occurring there that's more than 6 inches. So it could impact, maybe consider removing them. It might damage the trees. There's existing hydrants on Martine Drive, sorry. The silt fence that you're proposing is in front of the fire hydrants. If you wouldn't mind moving those behind the fire hydrants so that they're not obscuring first responders. And then I would recommend to just add silt socks, inlet protections along all the existing structures along Willow Point Way, Maritime Drive, and McEwen Drive. Again, easier to clean a silt sock or inlet than having to re-flush the entire storm drain later on. Those are all mine for now.
You good, Josh? Okay. You've got all those notes?
Well,
Okay.
you got all those in your head?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
The one with the fence on top of the retaining wall is the only one that I think we might have a problem with, because we've got a design going. I don't think it's gonna be easy to stop a car with anything, and if a car goes over that, we can pull them out. I mean, it's not gonna be in good shape, but I think that's the only one that I would say, could we not have that as an absolute condition, but could we explore the possibility of doing that?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anybody else, any board members, any?
I just had one question about the underground stormwater detention structures. If you flip through the plan that shows, okay. They appear to be in the road,
Yes, they are.
and so
They're
it's,
under the road.
this particular site plan, I do see the outline of the parcel, so those basins are on a different parcel. They're on the parcel that's owned by Phase 2 of the project, heading down to the lake, or down to the bay.
Yes.
So I guess what I don't see on here, maybe you could point it out, is the easement that would be associated with that. Similar on the other side, you said there's an easement that's for the detention basin that has the forebay and the sand filters. I would expect also to be an easement for those items.
There already is an easement in place for the sand filter.
Yes.
And the stormwater chambers will have an easement over it. And those stormwater chambers are really to treat the drainage of the phase two.
Sure.
So,
Where is that easement shown is the question.
Oh, that was a comment from town staff, so that's being added to the plans and filed before we get Mylar signatures.
Okay.
I believe all that. Keith, you guys, you reviewed all that, you and, correct?
Yep.
You guys are pretty comfortable with it at this point?
Yep. The
Okay.
board has received our letter, correct?
I'm sorry?
The board received.
Yes,
our
we do,
letter,
yeah.
correct?
Mhm. Yep.
It's all there.
Actually, with 3 different letters.
That's correct.
Okay, anybody, board members? Peggy?
I think just
We've been
one,
through
sorry,
this, I mean, we've answered, I think, every question.
Tony, I just have one more, sorry, just because Derek brought up the stormwater. So the sand filter that's on the southwest side, I guess there's a road that's next to it. Is that, what's the anticipated rating of that road that you're proposing there? Is it HS20? Is a pumper truck going to be able to pull onto that road to maintain potentially that sand filter, or?
So I think it was a gravel access path, so that, trucks or whatever could get down there.
Okay. I mean, would you be able to do a vehicle tracker just to look if a bumper truck can make it down there?
I'm not sure you would want to take a pumper truck down there, just the existing path to get down there is somewhat steep.
Okay.
So I don't think you'd want to take a pumper truck down there.
So how is it going to be maintained? Just curious. What's the maintenance schedule for it, I guess, over time, since it's
So,
sand?
yeah, I mean, if they had to get it cleaned out, you would do it with an excavator.
Okay.
Anyone, John, Mark? I know we've been through this thing several times, all the different issues on this. I think one of the biggest things was onto McEwen Drive, and I think you resolved that. You were putting up some bushes along or berm along there or something
That's correct. We enhanced the
for
landscaping.
protecting neighbors on the other side,
Yeah.
basically. Okay.
And I think it's significant that, this was a group of neighbors that, really was concerned, and now you had a public hearing that had no comments.
And agree, there's a lot of engineering detail and stuff in this, and that's why the town engineers have been working on this thing for several months now also, along with the applicant. I know there's, Derek, you've got issues with the thing, with the seeker and so on, with the DEC. I'm gonna propose that we move forward with this project. I want it gone and done. Whatever issues need to be resolved, let that happen with the DEC. That's where the main issues are. And I mean, this thing, when was it, January 1st, they came out with a new rule that kind of put blotches here and there and said this is potential wetland. So now you tell us that it isn't, and we'll get back to you in a few months. Is that not basically the?
Well, it actually doesn't say that. It said, that's what everyone seems to think. It says
Well-
the actual regulation says, here's some blotches. If you want a jurisdictional determination, we're happy to do that for you, and here's the process by which you can do that. But yeah, pretty much there's blotches, and I believe someone earlier today used the phrase, it's clear as mud in terms of the process.
That's my point. And I think to this board, most of the board anyways, the whole process into that is as clear as mud. But anyways, I would like to propose that we move forward with this project and then leave the onus on to the applicant to have to deal with the DEC and any other agency. I think the town, if I'm not correct me, Keith, Mark, you guys, you've reviewed all this stuff, you're content with the engineering and
You have
so
a
on? There's some
letter-
outstanding things that need to
Tony,
be
you
resolved?
have a letter from the town engineering
Mhm.
that says that we have comments that do not hold up the application.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
There are comments that do not hold up the application.
Uh-huh.
They will be resolved
Yep,
prior to Mylars.
okay, that's good enough for me. All right, this is gonna be a lengthy little deal here now. We've got actually 6 different resolutions to make. This first one, we might as well start with the seeker. Because we have to declare it as an unlisted action, I guess, at this point. So I'll read it out. Bear with me, folks. I'm sorry, it's going to take a little bit of getting through them, but anyways. Let's see, these were all prepared by town engineers. And so whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board is considering an application for preliminary and final site plan approval and subdivision approval related to the above referenced property to combine approximately 3.7 acres with an approximately 9.4 acre parcel to create an approximate 13 total acres is re-subdivision of lots R2B and R2C plat, prepared by Passero Associates dated July of 2024, and on which combined parcel is proposed to be constructed 5 10-unit and 1 6-unit townhouse-style apartment buildings, a clubhouse building, and associated infrastructure, as shown on the most recent site plans prepared by Passero Associates. And all relevant information was submitted at the March 4th, 2025 applications. And whereas the planning board has reviewed the short environmental assessment form, the EAF, and this EAF, and this is part 1, and this was prepared by the applicant related to the application and all other relative information. This has been submitted as of March 4th. And whereas the planning board determines that said action is classified as an unlisted action under Part 617 of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas the planning board declares its intent to declare itself as a lead agency under seeker and commenced coordination review, this goes back to, I believe it was correct me, Josh, if I'm wrong, but I think it was November 12th,
That is correct.
right?
Yep.
November 12th of '24 is when this actually started. And along with that, we do have the certificate to that also. And let's see. Whereas the planning board determines that it is the most appropriate agency for making the determination of significance, therefore, under the seeker regulations. And whereas the planning board has given consideration for determining significance as set forth in section 617.7C1 of the seeker regulations, and the information contained in the EAF Part 1, and whereas the planning board has completed Part 2 and 3 of the environmental assessment form, whereas the planning board, under the provisions of Part 616 of the New York State Environmental Quality Review, has given thorough and comprehensive evaluation of the impacts likely to result from the proposed action. Now therefore it be resolved that the planning board hereby declares itself to be the lead agency for the purposes of completing the environmental quality review as required by New York State and the seeker regulations. It is further resolved that the planning board has reasonably concluded that the following impacts are expected and result from the proposed action when compared against the criteria found in the seeker, section 617.7C. There will not be a substantial adverse change in existing air quality, ground or surface water. There will not be large quantities of vegetation or fauna removed from the site or destroyed. Action, there will not be substantial interference with the movement of any resident or migratory fish or wildlife species. As a result of the proposed action, there will not be a significant impact upon habitat areas on the site, and there are no known threatened or endangered species or animals or plants. C, there are no known critical environmental areas on the site which will be impaired as a result of the proposed action. D is the overall density of the site is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, and there will not be any increase in the use of either the quality or type of energy resulting from the proposed action. And F, there will not be any hazard created by human health. G is there will not be a change in the use of the active agricultural lands that receive any agricultural use under tax exemptions or that it will ultimately result in the loss of 10 acres of such productive farmland. And H, there will not be a larger number of persons attracted to the site for more than a few days when compared to the number of persons who would come to the site absent the action. And I, there will not be created a material demand for other actions that would result in one or more of the above consequences. And J, there will not be changes in two or more of the elements of the environment that, when considered together, result in a substantial adverse impact. And K, there are no two or more related actions which would have a significant impact on the environment. And be it further resolved that based on the information and analysis set forth above and the supporting documentation referenced above, the proposed action will not result in any adverse, significant environmental impacts. And this is subject to the coordination set forth below. And be it resolved further that the planning board does hereby make a determination of non-significance for the proposed action, and the planning board chairman is hereby directed to sign the short environmental assessment form, Part 3, and issue a negative declaration as evidence of the planning board's determination. And that would be the motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Gaskin?
No.
Mrs. Maltman?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, and along with that, then that would be, should we put a note in there that the applicant be in contact with the DEC to resolve any outstanding issues? This is,
Are you amending the resolution?
no, I'm asking a question. If we should, I don't know.
part of the resolution.
Don't have to, right? No, okay, all right, no, we're not done, okay. All right, that would be the resolution for the seeker. I think we've got to do a subdivision approval. Dave, you got a copy of that?
Yep. Whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board is considering applications for preliminary and final site plan approval and subdivision approval related to the above referenced property to combine an approximately 3.7 acre parcel with approximately 9.4 acre parcel to create approximately 13.1 acre parcel, as shown on the re-subdivision of lots R2-B and R2-C plat prepared by Passero Associates, dated July 2024, and on which combined parcel is proposed to be constructed 5 10-unit and 1 6-unit townhouse-style apartment buildings, a clubhouse building, and associated infrastructure as shown on the most recent site plans prepared by Passero Associates and all other relevant information submitted as of March 4th, 2025. And whereas the planning board has completed a formal review of the proposed subdivision and site plan applications in compliance with the implementing regulations of New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas the planning board has determined the proposed development to be an unlisted action under Part 617.6 B4 of the seeker regulations. And whereas on March 4th, 2025, the planning board made determination of significance and filed a negative declaration, thereby concluding review pursuant to seeker. And whereas on March 4th, 2025, the planning board conducted a public hearing that was duly advertised according to law and at which all persons interested were heard. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board hereby approves the proposed subdivision.
Is that the motion? You need a second?
Second.
A second?
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Anderson. Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Gaskin?
Yes.
Mrs. Maltman?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, what we have next would be the EPAD, the environmental Environmental Protection Overlay District, there's a resolution for that, I guess.
I got it, yeah. So whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board is considering applications for preliminary and final site plan approval and subdivision approval related to the above referenced property to combine an approximately 3.7 acre parcel with an approximately 9.4 acre parcel to create approximately 13.1 acre parcel as shown on the re-subdivision of lots R2B and R2C plat prepared by Passero Associates, dated July 2024, and on which combined parcel is proposed to be constructed 5 10-unit and 1 6-unit townhouse-style apartment buildings, a clubhouse building, and associated infrastructure as shown on the most recent site plans prepared by Passero Associates and all other relevant information submitted as of March 4th, 2025. And whereas a portion of the project is or may be located within Environmental Protection Overlay District 2, Steep Slopes Protection District, because portions of the project site contain or may contain areas within 15% or greater slope and are located on the boundary map attached as Appendix 1 of Town Code Chapter 350-zoning. Whereas applicant has requested that the planning board issue an EPOD development permit in accordance with Town Code 350-9B2, and whereas a public hearing has been held on this matter, and whereas the planning board has considered the effect that the proposed regulated activity will have on public health, safety, and welfare, and the protection or enhancement of the fragile and environmentally sensitive steep slope areas within the town, and whereas the planning board has considered the standards set forth in Town Code 350-9D5. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the planning board does hereby grant an EPOD development permit for the project.
Okay, the attorney's just giving me a couple of things that we discussed that we should probably add in there. We can just add this into that.
You read the EPOD?
I read the EPOD.
Yeah.
Why don't
You want to keep this for,
Yeah,
okay, you want to keep this for, okay, all right, never mind, that's it, then. That'd be a
Okay.
motion. Need a second?
Second,
You have a second, or?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Okay. Mrs. Maltman?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Gaskin?
No.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye. Let's see, we have what, the waterfront we still have to do too. John, you got that? You want to do that? The local waterfront revitalization?
Whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board is considering application for preliminary and final site plan approval and subdivision approval related to the above referenced property to combine an approximately 3.7 acre parcel with an approximately 9.4 acre parcel to create an approximately 13.1 acre parcel as shown on the re-subdivision of lots R2-B and R2-C plat prepared by Passero Associates dated July 2024, on which combined parcel is proposed to be constructed 5 10-unit and 1 6-unit townhouse-style apartment buildings, a clubhouse building and associated infrastructure as shown on the most recent site plans prepared by Passero Associates and all other relevant information submitted as of March 4th, 2025. And whereas the proposed project is or may be located within the Town of Webster's coastal area as defined in Town Code Chapter 331, and whereas town staff has prepared a coastal assessment form on the planning board's behalf in accordance with Town Code Chapter 331, and now therefore be it resolved that the proposed project is consistent with the LWRP policy standards and conditions set forth in Town Code 331-4G.
Is that the motion?
That's the
Okay,
motion.
need a second?
Second.
Another motion and a second.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Gaskin?
No.
Mrs. Maltman?
Aye.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye. All right. Slow but steady, we're getting there. We've covered all the issues there. Down here. All right, preliminary. Then I'm going to make a motion for a preliminary approval for the water review application. And that's whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board, can you folks hear it with this? I don't know. Can you hear back there? Barely? Really? Let me get a little bit closer here. I'm sorry. Let's see. Whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board is considering applications for preliminary and final site plan approval and subdivision approval related to the above referenced property to combine the approximately 3.7 acres and with the 9.4 for a total of 13.1 acres as shown in the resub map on lots R2B and R2C, and a plat prepared by Passero Associates dated July 2024, and on which combined parcels is proposed to be constructed 5 10-unit, 1 6-unit townhouse-style apartment building, a clubhouse building, and associated infrastructure as shown on the most recent site plans prepared by Passero Associates, and all other relative information submitted as of March 4th, 2025. Whereas the Planning Board has completed a formal review of the proposed subdivision and site plan applications in compliance with the implementing regulations of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. And whereas the Town Planning Board has determined the proposed development to be an unlisted action under Part 6176B4 of the SEQR regulation, and whereas on March 4th, the Planning Board made a determination of significance and filed a negative declaration, thereby concluding the review pursuant to SEQR. And whereas the Planning Board conducted a public hearing that was duly advertised according to law and in which all persons interested were heard, and now therefore it be resolved that the Planning Board approve the preliminary site plan with the following conditions, and I'll give a few of those that I've got right here. Those would be the standard for preliminary, and make those subject to, I'm going to give them to you as we go over.
No, go ahead, I got it.
Okay, subject to all PRC comments, subject to a letter of credit posted with the Town of Webster, subject to all Conservation Board comments, subject to Monroe County Water Authority comments, subject to the determination of the Zoning Board, which the applicant has received the necessary variances, address any land to be conveyed to the town if applicable, address any recent subdivision approvals of adjacent lands if applicable. I don't believe there is. All the improvements shall be constructed according to the specifications of the Town of Webster. All roadway construction to be in accordance with the specifications and regulations set forth by the Town of Webster. All site work is to be in compliance with the standards of the Town of Webster. Preserve all mature trees on the site where possible, and mark said trees by the developer's engineer prior to the commencing of any site work. Comply with any requirements of any state, county, and town agency. Address drainage, lighting, signage, landscaping, buffering, berming, and snow storage. And let's see, the landscape, hardscape, site accessories, and associated finishes, grading design for the development must be prepared by a New York State licensed landscape architect. The final landscape plan shall bear the seal and signature of the landscape architect. Approvals are subject to the drawing number, and what is it? I lost it there now.
Is there C-102?
There you brought it up again. C-102, and yeah, project number, well, the project number as designated, you can read it later. Okay, and that's it. That's a motion for preliminary approval.
Second.
You have a motion, have a second. No, it's all right.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson,
No.
Mr. Kosel,
Aye.
Mr. Gasket,
No.
Mrs. Maltman.
Aye.
Okay, we've got to do a final.
Just saying, I said C-102, maybe it should be C-204.
Yeah, there's a number on there. C-102 is the one we're looking at, but there's a project number. Well, here, I'll give it to you. It's 2024-3903.0002. Okay?
Okay, do the final.
Got it? All right, then we'll move forward for final approval.
I'll make
So-
a motion for final approval.
I'm sorry?
I'll make a motion for
I
final.
got it.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see, final approval, this is final approval for the Waterview subdivision. And this is whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board is considering applications for preliminary and final site plan approval and subdivision approval related to the above referenced property to combine approximate acres. And then we don't have to read it, it's basically the same as the preliminary. I'll skip that, a little bit of it there. You'll have a copy of it and fill it in this, right? And then whereas the planning board has completed a formal review of the proposed subdivision and site plan applications in compliance with the implementing regulations of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, whereas the planning board has determined the proposed development to be an unlisted action under Part 617, 6B4 of the secret regulations. Excuse me. And whereas on March 4th, the planning board made a determination of significance and filed negative declaration, thereby concluding the review pursuant to seeker. And whereas on March 4th, the planning board conducted a public hearing that was duly advertised according to law and at which all persons interested were heard. And whereas the March 4th planning board completed a review and granted preliminary site plan approval. And whereas the planning board has compared the final site plans with the approved preliminary plans and has determined that said plans are consistent and all conditions have been satisfied or will be satisfied prior to signatures being affixed to the final site plans. That's an important part right there. So now therefore, be it resolved that the planning board does hereby grant final approval with the following conditions, and I'll give you a few of those. And we'll make that also subject to project review committee comments, and make that subject to any parks and recreation fees that the town board would impose on this project. I don't know how that fully works, but that's up to them. And subject to all preliminary approval conditions, and make it subject to all applicable governmental fees, subject to Department of Public Works approvals, and significant construction shall occur within 1 year as deemed by the planning board to expire on March 4th, 2026. The conditions of the preliminary and final approval are depicted on the cover sheet of the final design plans, and that's something you want to make sure you do. All the approvals are on the cover sheet of those drawings. And let's see, all right. The engineer for the proposed project shall provide a letter of certification that all proposed work was completed as per planning board resolution of final approval before a certificate of occupancy will be issued. A letter of credit to the town for the project shall include the fee for the engineer's final inspection, certification of the site. All stormwater facilities are to be constructed first. Downspouts to be connected to the storm sewers. We'll leave that actually subject to engineering approvals. That'll be part of, because I don't know how the layout is and how you guys can deal with that. And all downspouts are, let's see, subject to a resolution of the final approved minutes. And approvals are again subject to the same drawing number. And that's it for final. Now, wait a minute, before I say that's it, is there anything else that we need to put in there? Anything you feel we're missing?
Not that I can think of.
Huh? Nothing I can think of. Josh, do you feel anything else?
No.
You covered with it? Okay, everybody's all right with that then? So that would be my motion for final approval.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Gaskin?
No.
Mrs. Malvin?
Aye.
Okay, with that, I guess we've completed the approval process for this application. I know it's been long, it's been arduous for everyone, there's been a lot of issues. And again, I reiterate that I think the biggest thing here is DEC stuff, and it's always a big issue, and holding a project up, let the applicant go and battle it. That's out of my expertise, that's for sure.
Mr. Kashani,
Yes.
quick question for you. Could I see a copy of the Part 2 and the Part 3 of the seeker? The completed Part 2 and Part 3 of the seeker?
Have you,
Those are foilable.
I have it.
The,
have you got it, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you all very
See, I don't
much.
understand why you're so adamant and so fighting this so much.
I'm not fighting it. Your resolution said that the planning board completed it.
Yeah,
I would like to see it.
Actually,
If
it's
it's in the resolution, I would like to see
And I think I have the
what
copy of
was
it here.
completed by the planning board.
Somewhere in these
That's
papers,
all
I do
I
have
asked.
it.
All right, let's move on.
Let's move on.
We voted on it.
Have you got a copy of it, Josh?
Yeah, I just
Oh,
provided.
you gave it to him? Okay, good. All right, with that, we're done with this application. Let's just take a couple-minute break. I want to just round up my papers. I got 9 million papers laying in front of me here. Just take a recess for a couple minutes, okay? No more than that. Yeah, this is all this other stuff. This. This can go under here. What's that? I'll ask a question. Is there anyone here? Who's that? I'm sorry. Who said that? Of the agenda? There's generally one on the poster out there. You can take a look at it. There should be one on there. I'm going to assume it's there. Yeah. Oh, Jan's going out. Get some water.
Oh, you want an agenda?
Huh?
You want an agenda?
No, that's fine. Yeah, okay. This is. That's it, it's gonna happen. They're gonna work on it.
The fertilizer.
I have issues with that. All right.
From where they've spread I did share it with our sewer staff. So yeah, they were gonna follow up and get it on their radar. Yeah, another same situation.
You know your stuff. You know your stuff.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, here it is, here's the coastal assessment form, I knew I had it. It was all filled, this was the thing he was asking, the coastal assessment form. Yeah, I knew I had it in these papers, it just all shuffled in, you know?
Visions are changing, you know, over again, and it's like I
They also
used to
give us the
believe.
small 11 to 17, and I have my binoculars, I'm like, what is this?
Magnifying glass.
Okay, I guess we can get started again, we all set? Oh, Catherine said. Wait a minute.
Give us a bigger drawing.
She's recording.
Just getting started.
She's recording. She's all set. Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying that.
Well, let's keep moving. Here comes Catherine. All right, why don't we start, go ahead with the next one, Mark, and we can get going.
Okay, the first scheduled item on tonight's agenda is Amori and Company, the salon sign.
Folks, could you please stop talking? Ma'am, please.
Located at 1050 Gravel Road, the applicant Jessica Costa of Vital Signs is requesting sign approval associated with the installation of a 19.73 square foot monument sign, monument style sign on a 0.50 acre lot located in a medium intensity commercial district under section 265-7 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Yes, sir.
Hey, good evening. I'm filling in for Jessica.
We didn't think you were her.
You never know. My name is Mike Nucitelli. I'm the owner of 1050 Gravel, and my office will also be in there as well.
And this is the sign you're proposing to put in, right?
Yep, it's pretty similar, just,
Yeah.
updated.
Is it, any lights on it, or?
We're gonna put a spotlight, but it's not illuminated or
Just
anything
on
like
the
that.
bottom?
Yep, just, stick in the ground, simple.
All right.
It's nice to see
Anybody?
the address on there.
He's got the address.
And he's
on
got the address on it, which is
Yeah.
good.
it. Anybody, any questions, concerns?
No.
Nope. All right.
It's going in the same location as the existing sign?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like it is, right? Yeah, it's on the side there, kind of.
Yep, right in the bed.
All right, what's we gotta do a seeker? Derek, you wanna do a seeker on that?
The Town of Webster Planning Board considered the request by applicant Mike Musciantelli to install a 19.73 square foot monument style sign on a 0.50 acre parcel having SBL number 078.20-1-69 located at 1050 Gravel Road. The planning board classifies the proposed action as a type 2 action under 617.5C2 of the State Environmental Quality Review Regulations, and therefore is not subject to further review.
Okay, we have a motion. Need a
Second.
Who seconded?
I did.
Oh, Mark, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're good with that. Motion for approval for the sign, 1050?
I'll make a motion for approval of a, what do we got here? 19.73 square foot monument style sign for Amori and Company located at 1050 Gravel Road as presented.
Okay, have a motion, need a second.
Second.
Have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good. Very good, you're all set. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Second item on tonight's agenda, garage replacement and pole barn located at 580 Bay Road. The applicant, Jack Burke, is requesting preliminary final site plan approval along with a public hearing associated with the construction of a 2,100 square foot pole barn on a 1.20 acre lot located in an R3 single-family residential district under section 269-11 and section 350-12 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, I'm Susanna Dutro. I am the owner of 580 Bay Road. I've been there for 21 years, and tonight we are here to, after getting zoning variance, we're here to seek approval for a pole barn to replace an existing garage. This is a registered historic property with the Town of Webster. So we are looking to continue the longevity of the property so that we can stay there and make it more functional. It, being an 1868 home, lacks storage in every possible way. So looking for storage and also a place to house vehicles because the existing structure, I have never been able to park a car in it. It was built, it's not original to the property. I think it was built in the 50s. And so looking to house cars, because we do have multiple vehicles, and I will, in the next year, have a work truck. I typically, because we work out in the field, I have a staging and design company, decorating company. So we work out in the field, but we do use a truck that I need to bring home with me. So I'd like to house that in the pole barn so that currently they're seeing U-Hauls. I have one in my driveway right now to house that. So to kind of give a cleaned up appearance to the property and to improve the overall function of the property.
Yeah, you came in with this the middle of, last fall.
Yes,
With
yes.
it, and I think everybody was pretty satisfied. It's all stick-built too. It isn't a pole barn, really. It's
Yes.
stick-built,
Yeah, it is.
which is nice. What are you going to use for siding, similar
So
to?
this, I brought this, so it'll be like it looks now. It will be in keeping with a farmhouse. It was an apple orchard. So it will be a red, like a barn. It'll have a black metal roof and white trim. White doors with windows, so it'll have quite a nice appearance. It's important to me, as a steward of the property, that it looks in keeping with the property, and that it's an improvement, because I want to pass this on. This house has been a passion for me for 21 years, and I'd like it to continue, and I feel it needs that update, really, for us to stay in it and for it to function well for the next property owner.
Well, your engineer did a nice job. I think I mentioned
Yeah,
it the last time too.
thank you.
On the project.
Thank
It's
you. And I
very-
think it'll be an improvement for the neighbors too that
Yeah.
can see it. They're on Del Rio right now, they're seeing kind of what looks like, an old building that really needs to be improved upon. So they're going to have a much nicer view for the neighbors that can see it. And when you drive by Bay Road, I think it's going to be a much improved look. And it's in keeping with the farms that you see interdispersed along Bay Road.
What is that stone building you want attached to the pole barn? Is that? what I-
That was built in 1889. It was a pig house. They stored pigs in it and milk on one side. So that is almost as old as the house, and that will remain there and will be attached.
Is that used for storage now?
It's gardening. It's a gardening shed more than anything. It does have a loft in it, so there's not really much that you can put in it without climbing up a ladder, which is currently it was built in 1889.
Are you gonna have electricity, water, or heat out there in this new pole barn?
There will not be water. There will be electricity. And at some point, we would probably add heating, but it would be like a wall type unit. But there won't be water or drainage or anything like that. It's not meant to live in it.
Okay.
Okay. Again, this is a public hearing, so if there are any neighbors, anyone wishing to speak in regard to this project? Oh, you already
And I got
discussed
to
it?
see them for the
Oh, all
first
right,
time
that's
in
good.
like
That saves us a
15
little
years.
time. That's good. All right, board, anyone? Any issues or concerns?
Are there downspouts discharging on the surface, or are you putting it in like a dry well?
That's a good question. We can certainly do that if that's something.
I'm just asking because it seems that the barn is moving closer to the east side of the property. There's only 30 feet between the neighbor to the east. I'm not sure what the terrain is doing back there. Are you potentially discharging into their yard, or is it more sloped towards the west and not going to discharge into the...
On what side of the property are you talking about?
It seems that this proposed barn is moving 30 feet further east, so there's only 30
closer
feet
to you.
between the property line.
Yeah, so behind there's actually a berm that
Okay.
goes up.
You guys
so-
are to the east?
Yes, they are, yeah. So there is a berm that was built up prior to me purchasing the property. So it will drain out that way, but it will not be flooding into the
Okay.
neighbor's yard. Yeah.
Okay, no one is wishing to speak, so we'll close the public hearing, bring it up. Anybody, board members, any concerns? We looked at this. The applicant did go and obtain necessary variances. It's a nice-looking building, actually.
Yeah.
Any questions, concerns? If not, we can move forward. You want to do a cigar on it?
Yeah, just quick clarification for applicant. Is it really Susanna Dutro for this as opposed to Jake?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The applicant, should I really say Susanna Dutro or?
Jack actually did the initial application. I've been involved in meeting with the planning, so I apologize if that, I could be added to that. I
Oh,
mean,
that's fine. I
yeah,
just-
yes, it is
Just
my
make sure you got the right
application.
names as well.
I know.
Town of Weston Planning Board consider a request by applicant Jack Burke and Susanna Dutro to remove an existing garage and replace it with a 2,100 square foot pole barn attached to an existing structure on a 1.20 acre parcel having SBL number 063.11-1-89 located at 580 Bay Road. The planning board classifies the proposed action as a type 2 action under section 617.5C2 of the State Environmental Quality Review Regulations, and therefore is not subject to further review.
Okay, need a second for a motion?
Second.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion for the approval for it. We can make this, if it's okay with everybody, we'll just, I mean, we know what the situation is. It's conforming to pretty much all the requirements of the zoning ordinance, chapter 350. I'd make a motion that we just enter that in without going through the whole thing. Did it conform to chapter 350-36 regarding accessory buildings? And it falls, everything is falling within the category of that, the elevation, approvals and so on. Yeah, I think that'll simplify it. Okay, I'll make that, well, significant construction within 1 year. We'll add that in, okay? All right, that's a motion, need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're all set.
Thank you for everything.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, McAlpin Industries located on Publishers Parkway. The applicant, Matt McAlpin, is requesting preliminary final site plan approval and special use permit along with a public hearing associated with the multi-phase development totaling 300,000 square feet, first phase totaling 1,200 square feet of light manufacturing on a 25.65 acre parcel located in an OP core area, North Office Park District, under sections 269-11 and 350-21 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Good evening. Mike Ritchie from Costage Engineering. With me, Matt McAlpin, McAlpin Industries. My board's a little bit too big. I apologize if that's obnoxious. We were here in front of this board back in January for sketch plan review. We got good feedback from the board. Since then, we applied to and obtained a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have received comments, actually 2 rounds of PRC comments, and plans have been revised based on those comments. We've submitted a traffic study as well as architectural elevations for town review. At this point, it's our understanding that this project would be considered a type 1 action under seeker. So we're here tonight requesting that this board declare their intent to be lead agent under seeker so that we can kind of continue this process. But with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that this board may have.
Anybody questions? Go ahead.
I got some, sorry. So,
Go ahead.
just real quick, February 24th, you got a letter from Monroe County Planning, Section 239M. Have you, one of the comments was with regards to, again, DEC, a JD, that there's potentially state-regulated wetlands on this. Have you filed?
We did. We filed on January 16th.
Okay.
They have 90 days to respond. Again, not asking this board to do anything they're not comfortable with. You know, the old maps that are now not to be used did not indicate any wetlands. The new informational maps do not show any wetlands on this property. It's our hope, belief that wetlands will not be present, but yeah, we did submit and hope to have that hopefully by April. for the town to review.
Okay. I had a question about, this would be on the site or utility plan. Is the hot box that's out on Hard Road, is that existing?
Yeah, that's
Or-
the existing for U of R. We're coordinating with Matt and the architect. Obviously, it's our understanding this is going to be outside, and the next plan we submit will show the enclosure,
Okay.
similar size of what's out in front of U of R right now. We're just coordinating that, but it'll be the standard kind of steel, metal, enclosure. We'll make sure that's on the next set of plans.
So you're gonna have a hot box in addition to the one that's out there?
Yeah,
Or-
because the one out there is for the U of R facility, and it's, 2 properties, 2 services. So this will be a combined service, fire and domestic service,
Okay.
which will provide for hydrants and sprinklers in the building.
Okay. In the back of the proposed 120,000 square foot, you have a swale that goes to the northwest,
Yep.
to what seems to be like a future phase pond or
Yep.
stormwater practice. Is there a reason that that pond is not being constructed now and then built out to accommodate any of the stormwater that is sheet flowing off of the back area behind the building into that swale that then goes north?
Yeah, and I think it was a kind of a phasing type thing, and I think it can be built now. Drainage currently, it kind of funnels back towards Publishers, but there's not a real defined flow path. So it's our intent that drainage in that northern area will continue to kind of sheet flow over to Publishers. But if it's the board's intent that we kind of solidify that and maybe push it there to a more dedicated path, we can look to do that in the first phase.
I guess my question is stormwater treatment of the impervious area that's being contributed to that north. How
Yeah.
are you addressing the RV, CPD?
Yeah, yes. So there's a bioretention along kind of the future north area. So
Okay.
the first phase on that southeast corner, we're proposing the main stormwater management pond, which provides water quality and peak rate control for the whole site, full build up, 300,000 square feet. And then there is a bioretention, a large bioretention in the parking area for phase 1. And then we are proposing another bioretention to the north of the future loop road. That bioretention was intended to be built out in future phases, and that would all be connected and tied back in out at Publishers.
I guess, how are you capturing the back portion of the?
Oh, the back, directly to the west?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a swale that actually pulls drainage down, back along, and into the stormwater pond. There's kind of a break back there. There's a break kind of at the north end of the proposed building, and then it kind of funnels back to the north. So there is a break where, I guess if you look north-south, kind of where the cursor is, from there it'll break back south into the stormwater pond, and then the future.
Okay, all
yeah.
right. Sorry, I had
So the
a
majority
small
does-
11 by 17 to look at, so I couldn't see the
Yeah.
actual contours on that.
Gotcha.
Okay. This is more of a egress, your question. I've noted a couple of egress doors that have, egress doors have concrete landings, but a sidewalk should be provided and maintained for emergency egress. So you have, door opens, you have a concrete pad there, but in the wintertime, it's gonna be, snowed in. Is
Yeah.
it a way to do just a sidewalk out to an area that,
Yes, we can look to add that in.
Okay. Downspout locations on the structure, I didn't see them on the elevation views. Are
Yeah.
they surface discharged or are they being
I think
tied?
it's gonna go to a storm manifold and then into the pond. Yeah, so we're not looking to kind of splash block that out.
So it is a storm manifold
Yes,
underground
yep,
system?
yeah.
Okay.
We're, again, coordinating with the architect on exactly how those get shown, but for the next submission, we can show an under drain line that connects to the pond.
Okay. The back garage has 2 retaining walls, the detail indicated under drains.
Yep.
Are those being tied to the
Yeah.
foundation drain or?
Yeah, those, I think we're actually showing that being tied into the sanitary, or sorry, it runs right now along the north side and into the storm line back there.
Okay, so you're tying it into the storm line?
Yep, yeah, and then obviously we'll have to coordinate in future phases and tweak that when additions are made.
Okay.
But that was the easiest way to do it.
Are you gonna have in the future, maybe, this is for the water line, sampling tap locations identified?
Yeah, and we'll coordinate with the Water Authority. I believe the most current plans have the sampling disinfection taps at the connection and at the, kind of the connection to the building, to make sure that that is per Water Authority standards.
Okay. I think this would be one of my last questions, or two of the last questions, sorry. I noticed the combined system coming towards the proposed manufactured building, then you have a private hydrant, then the combined system continues into the building, which I'm assuming is sprinklered. Just any concern with there being a hydrant, essentially the first hydrant that the fire department could tap into and draw from water that could be
Yeah, that's
going
a good
into?
point. I think we'll look to make that separation
Okay.
to the domestic, make that, I guess, T prior to that first hydrant,
Yep.
so that there can't be cross-contamination.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just a quick question on the phasing. The cover letter indicated that the third or final phase would be 2030, but the EAF indicated final phase being 2028. Is it 2028 or 2030?
I think it all depends on the market. I think the way things are going now, it's closer to 2028.
Okay.
And again, we're doing this in an intent, to get seeker done for the entire development, do stormwater design for the entire development, not piecemeal it and come back, 2 more times, to go through the process, but to design the whole site once.
Appreciate it. That's all my questions.
Is this the main entrance for this, is this gonna be off a hard road?
Correct, yes. Yep.
Eventually, if you do more expansion, will you have a driveway going out to Publishers Parkway?
That's not our plan now, and a traffic study was done with all of the traffic going out to Hard Road, and that traffic study didn't recommend any improvements, with the exception of maybe adding a left turn lane, kind of in that little gore striped area that exists right now, but
Yeah.
no other improvements. They said the level of service out at Hard wouldn't be impacted, and I think we had mentioned the last time we were here that the shift that these workers do is kind of offset from most rush hour traffic.
Okay, any other questions? Because actually, there is no approval this evening for,
Oh, we understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we understand
I
that
know, I'm
this is
just
kind of the
making-
secret process. You need, to
right,
declare your intent to be lead agent.
Yep.
And get that notification sent out.
so with that, we should, go ahead. You want to do
Is
that?
this is a public hearing, do we have to open it to the public at all, or?
It's not a public hearing.
Right there.
No.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's
It
not.
says in the agenda.
It does?
Yes.
Oh, you're right, it does. I didn't even see that. Okay, if anyone wishing to comment on this, we'll open it, but there's no vote being taken. No one wishing to speak? Okay, we'll close the public, I won't close the public hearing because you're gonna be coming back. We'll leave it open. We'll just close it for this evening, that's it.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
Whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board considered the request by applicant Matt McAlpin of McAlpin Industries to construct a multi-phase development totaling 300,000 square feet of light industrial manufacturing on a 25.65 acre parcel having SBL number 079.06-1-32.123, located in an OP Core Area North Office Park District. Now therefore be resolved that the planning board determine that the action is a type 1 action based on the following criteria. Number 1, 617.4 B6-1, a project that involves the alteration of more than 10 acres of land. And number 2, 617.4 B6-5, it's in a city or village having a population of 150,000 people or less, in the facility with more than 100,000 square feet of gross floor area. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board determine that the action is subject to coordinated review pursuant to part 617.6B of seeker, and that it is the most appropriate agency for making the determination of significance. The planning board therefore intends to designate itself lead agency for the proposed action.
Okay, we have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
We have a second. Yeah.
Okay.
There's two of them.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Giardino?
Aye.
Mr. Rashani?
Aye.
Mr. Malta?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Gaskin?
Aye.
Ms. Malvin?
Aye.
Okay, resolve that. Now, one thing I think, Josh, probably, are your elevations. You know, when you come back, show some, I mean, some elevation sheets. I mean, we got that little thing there that was, yeah, something significant in size. And I'm gonna recommend your landscaping. I would also, the front there, across your front, something a little unique. I mean, I don't wanna use the word brick, but something that's across the front to make it not just a pole barn looking building.
And, you know, maybe we'll work with Matt and the architect. They're proposing kind of a stone veneer, stacked stone veneer along the main entrance.
Yes.
Not along the entire building, but along kind of the main entrance.
Well-
there. But, I mean, if this board has.
Why not the whole, that's your focal point?
Yeah, we can.
It's not the long-term focal point. Phase 2 would have more of an administrative office in the front with a front lobby, and that would have more of a focal point that you would see going down that access road. The front entrance that you're seeing on the sketch plan right now is not, it's not visible from the road, and it's not going to be the long-term main entrance.
Okay.
So we look to make, we want that to look nice. And
Yep.
At least attract visitors to, you know, that is the
Yep.
entrance point compared to the rest.
This is one of the requirements, is what we look for, you know,
And, yeah,
it's in the guidelines. and-
we can look to expand upon what we've done.
Okay.
To make it more, what we can.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see, we've got one more now, right?
Two more.
Yeah, solar, yeah, okay. Is anybody here for that?
Next item on the agenda, solar PV located at 1822 Lake Road. The applicant, Steve Mikolajecic, I hope I pronounced that right, is requesting preliminary final site plan approval and a public hearing associated with the installation of a 24.56 kWAC ground-mounted solar PV system consisting of 64 solar panels and 64 microinverters on a 5.0 acre lot having serial number SBL 03703-1-331, located in a large lot, single-family residential district under sections 155-5, 269-11, and 350-13 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
You're close. Steve Mikolajek with Aces Energy. This is kind of just a change order from a project that was approved a couple of months ago. The homeowners have just decided that they want to move the location of the panels. The number of panels is the same, everything's the same, except for the fact that instead of one long array, they're doing two shorter arrays. Other than that, all the design and everything is the same. It's moving farther south, about 100 feet or so.
Now, what's that former deed line? So that's all, it's all one parcel though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In ground pool, I don't see any big issue with it. It was approved before, you're just modifying it, changing the location of it?
Correct.
It's still not visible from the road,
No,
though.
got it.
Correct,
Okay.
it's hundreds and hundreds of
Half a
feet
mile
away.
back from the road.
Yeah, all right.
So, the Lochner family and the Stern family, are they aware of the panels going where they're being proposed?
Stern is they're the
Stern is, I'm
owners, yeah.
sorry. Okay, Lochner, the one on the south side.
Yeah, we sent letters out as part of the
Okay.
previous.
How close is their residence? Is it inside of a potential glare associated?
It's nowhere close
Nowhere close,
to
okay.
any structures, no.
Okay, this again, this is a preliminary approval. If there's anybody, I don't think anyone's here to discuss it. I'll move on with it.
Public hearing.
Secret on it, too, don't we? What?
Public
We
hearing.
just asked if there was.
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did.
secret?
We probably should, I guess, redo secret on it? Or does the other one still
I
existing?
think the other one still exists because it's still just.
It's probably still adequate, right? Would you,
That's fine. Yep.
you agree?
Yep.
Okay, then if that's the case, then we'll move forward with the approval. So, want to make a motion for the approval of the solar panel, sir? I'll make a motion that we approve the proposed solar PV located 1822 Lake Road and make that as presented.
One second. That, we need to add a condition because it will require them to go back to the zoning board for the proximity to the front lot line. So
Oh,
that
really?
should just be added as a condition.
Yep.
To the front lot line, what is it, 60 feet, 50?
Well, because it's Lake Road, it's, I believe, a 70-foot front setback, even though this parcel technically doesn't front on Lake Road. But it is scheduled to go back to the zoning board next week.
Then we can make the approval, make a motion to approve it and make it subject to them obtaining the necessary variance.
Right.
Okay? All right,
Perfect.
that'd be a
Thank you.
motion, need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're good, all right.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Last scheduled item on tonight's agenda, Ideal Group Manufacturing, located at 999 Pitcher Parkway. Applicant Ben Stroyer with Ideal Manufacturing Incorporated is requesting sketch plan review associated with the proposed expansion of a manufacturing facility on a 10.30 acre lot located in an office park district under sections 269-5 and 350-21 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Gentlemen.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jerry Goldman. I'm the attorney and agent for Ideal Manufacturing and its related real estate entities, Picture Parkway Properties, LLC, and Bluff Drive Partners. As long as everyone is up here, I think I will introduce everyone who is here. And we have with us Lee and Matt Stroyer, who are the second generation, if you will, of the business, as well as Ian Kutchman from McMahon LaRue, who is the project engineer. We did provide a letter of intent on January 27th. We are here this evening for concept review, which is an interim step along the way. We have already gone to the town board, and the town board has granted us authorization to come to the planning board on this concept review. Ultimately, we will go forward and do full preliminary and final plans for this particular site. And as a part of our application, we're requesting a couple of interpretations, and those interpretations are designed to try to keep as much of this process with the planning board going forward. If you've taken a look at the letter of intent, our third request has apparently already been addressed by the staff comments that we will, the PRC comments, and we'll talk about those in a second. But apparently it has been determined that the planning board will handle the special permit for this application. Let me give you a little bit of background in terms of what we are talking about. Ideal Manufacturing is a light manufacturing business that deals with the construction right now of high-capacity helic piles, which are a necessary foundational block for building construction. The Ideal Manufacturing story is a nice story. Ben Stroyer, who is the father of these two gentlemen, started out in this business in general contracting, and then they moved forward to actually create and obtain 19 patents for specific manufacturing processes. The building that we are talking about that is currently occupied along the Picture Parkway frontage is what many people who have been in town a long time affectionately refer to as the Jostens Building. It used to be the people that did yearbooks, class rings, and the like. And note, the nod. And that's probably why the road going in was actually named the way it is. I mean, we have nice creative history in town of naming the roads after the uses. Publishers Parkway probably had something to do with Lawyers Co-op, if I would imagine. I really don't remember myself, but this particular picture parkway probably dealt with the fact that it was a yearbook company that started out with an approximately 60,000 square foot building on this site. The original property, which is owned by Picture Parkway Properties, an Ideal, is a 7.8 acre parcel which fronts on Picture Parkway, on which there is currently the 60,000 square foot building. Over the course of time, the Stroyer family has obtained property going all the way south to Document Drive, basically 2 parcels, which is a 7.8 acre parcel and a 3.57 acre parcel. What they are proposing to do is to do a 21,000 square foot addition to their existing building, the 60,000 square foot building. Also construct to the east of that an 11,400 square foot processing building, but then add 3 buildings at the far end of the site, at the southern end of the site, being a 10,000 square foot office building, a 5,000 square foot training building, and an 11,400 square foot flex building, which will essentially capture, if you will, the overall use within what will ultimately be a campus. This is in the OP Core North District. Light manufacturing is a special permit use within the district. We are requesting that you take a look at a couple of interpretations relative to the site. One deals with the fact that as a part of their operation, there is a necessity to have some materials outdoors, and there's always a question of how we define the outdoor staging, if you will, of materials. We have a code provision which talks about outdoor storage, but there's no definition for outdoor storage in the code. So we don't have it. And also there is a question as to whether that relates to outdoor storage as a principal use or as an accessory use. This is clearly accessory to the use, and the outdoor staging, if you will, is for temporary storage of materials coming in, going out, and to that extent, we consider that to be the same or similar to the use of the property under the code, and therefore should be permitted as part of the planning board's jurisdiction. We also talked about and have requested, and I think this is more in the purview of town staff in dealing with this. The code provides there's a 45,000 square foot limit on the size of manufacturing buildings. This is already 60,000 square feet. We're talking about a 21,000 square foot addition, and I'm not sure whether the 45,000 square foot limitation should apply to a building which already well exceeds that, and probably exceeded it from the time the code was actually created, and whether we would need any sort of relief from the zoning board. Again, our intention is to try to keep the rest of the review of this project with this board, if at all possible. We have received comments from the PRC, which I believe the board has received as well. I'm going to run through them at this point. The first one talks about the need for the special permit from the planning board, and we understand that, and we will be making formal application in that regard. With regard to engineering at this point, in terms of stormwater quality management, that's currently under design. Conceptually, the engineers have indicated that we have sufficient room and sufficient area to provide for stormwater quality management on the site, and that will be part of our preliminary plans and preliminary details on the site. Second comment says that wetland delineation will be required. Obviously, you had some good, robust discussion, if you will, on wetland delineation already. At the time of the early development of this site, there were identified federal wetlands. We had an outside consultant who dealt with that. We are well within, and had a JD, we are well at the federal level, we're well within our situation on that one without the need of anything more than a nationwide permit. But we are going to go back to that consultant and review the new rules and new regulations that are involved. You've heard a lot of stuff that's gone on, and January 1st really is a watershed. We are considered to be, oddly enough, an urban area for purposes of the wetland determination. So that puts us in a category where we're no longer subject to what was a 12-acre limitation or a need for a 12-acre area for the state to obtain jurisdiction over wetlands. They'll be doing that on a much tighter basis, but we'll be reviewing what will be necessary under the new regulations to make sure that we are in compliance. The highway department had some comments, and the highway department is one of our neighbors, as I'm sure you all well know. At the end of Picture Parkway is a highway garage and highway facility for the town. So in addition to dealing with it as as a reviewing agency, they're also taking a look at it as a neighbor. And they talk about the existing parking in the front of the public right-of-way. Obviously, as we more fully develop the site, we will be able to better control how we deal with all of that, and we will be reviewing that. That's comment number one. Comment number two is one that we will be discussing more at length with the highway department and with town staff relative to the road itself. It is the strong desire of the Stroyer family and the business to maintain the road which would connect Picture Parkway and Document Drive, servicing the site as a private road. And we're going to try to see what we can work out relative to that issue. But again, we're still a concept. The concept is to have that road connection going north-south between Picture and Document. With regard to the sewer situation, sewer connections, we know that that there is a sewer easement at the front of the building, and that we will be dealing with this as an overall project. This is not coming in as a phase project, if you will, at this point, but it could ultimately be divided into phases. But we are talking about trying to re-subdivide and combine all this into a single lot. So our request is that this board make the interpretation that our outdoor staging is permitted on the site without need for any relief from any other board, and similarly for you to consider whether an expansion of the building itself, which already is above the 45,000 threshold, would require relief from the zoning board. Talked a lot, barely took a breath. With that, I don't know if anyone else on our team has anything to add to this at all at this point. We would like to obtain as many comments and as much comment as we can from the board so that we can move ourselves forward in this process. There's a lot of excitement on the part of Ideal in terms of trying to increase our footprint, if you will, and to try to stabilize their situation within the town of Webster. So,
Jerry, did I know earlier when you guys were in, was there thought to maybe question the neighbors? You've done that, I believe?
Mr. Stroyer, I've been told that Mr. Stroyer has visited all of the neighbors on the Hard Road frontage. It appears we may have a neighbor.
That's what I was just looking at there.
And I was not involved in that discussion. Ben is not here tonight, so I'm really not sure. My understanding is that he had not really received any opposition, if you will, to the concept and the idea of trying to improve the property. There is some separation. I can't see whatever may be up on people's screens, but you can see that there is some separation. Oh, there we go. Thank you. There is some separation between the residences and the neighbors. There's intended to be an enhanced landscape buffer in that particular area, and our clients are, of course, willing to continue to engage with neighbors on any questions they have.
I believe through there you also had, I think it was discussed to put a swale through there too? Drainage swale is going in the back there?
Relative to, when you say swale in the back, you talking
Along the property line?
on the
Basically where the trees are there, yeah.
So there's an existing creek.
There's a creek.
That's an existing
That's there now,
drainage
so
feature.
that's still there.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
still there.
that's,
and it'll be
that's what I was
preserved.
referring to,
Yep.
okay, all right, okay. All right. So your other question was, is this a staging area or is it a
Storage area.
storage area? I don't see it any different than, I look at it, you can look at it any way you want to look at it, I suppose, but I look at it as it's a staging area. You're not keeping things, you're moving things along from there.
And the fact of the matter is that the code has no definition of storage, so we really are kind of have our hands tied relative to trying to interpret that, because, there's a continuum between what may be staging, what may be storage and everything else, but, without taking Mr. Ciardi's role in raising this question, one of the legal tenets is that interpretations, if they're vague, are supposed to be interpreted in favor of an applicant. So in the absence of a definition, I think that we have at least an ability to take that first step and to give you our perspective in terms of what it should be.
Isn't the bus garage right down that street?
Yeah.
It is. It is.
That's pretty much outdoor storage.
That it is.
Right.
That it is.
And the town garage?
Yeah, they don't have to play by our rules, yeah. Well, at the end of document, we the school district. At the end of picture, we've got the town. I mean, we're talking about major outdoor uses in the neighborhood.
Right. So it's not anything totally different
Correct,
in the neighborhood.
correct.
And I think that as long as you do heavy buffering
Yep.
behind the houses on Hard Road, that would be acceptable,
Okay.
in my opinion.
I don't see any dock doors.
For
Raw
which
material,
building?
is there raw material that is brought in that, with whatever you manufacture?
I'm not sure of the design of the building. Right now, how do you get stuff from inside to outside? There's 6 overhead doors. Are they on the south side of the building right now?
We have one on every side except.
Why don't you come up, Lee, and introduce yourself and.
Time to put the kid to bed.
There you go.
So I'm Matthew Stroyer.
Yeah.
We have right now we have overhead doors on every corner of the building except for the one facing Picture Parkway, the north side of the building.
So how many trucks with this addition is anticipated?
We don't anticipate that initial phase that it's going to change traffic at all.
So I guess a question on my part, and if maybe we could have some legends on this plan and some call-outs on the square footage of the buildings and what's proposed on each one of them, it would kind of assist in just the communication of this. So the addition on the south side is how many square feet? And the purpose of that is just additional internal manufacturing or internal storage?
That's internal manufacturing, I believe, and it's 21,000 square feet
Okay,
of addition onto a 60,000 square foot, roughly 60,000 square foot building.
okay. The proposed facility to the east, I'm assuming that's like 18,000 square feet. What is that structure?
The building right along the same plane over there
Yep, that one.
is a processing, I think termed a processing building. I don't know if you want to speak to.
Yeah, it would just be like an outdoor area where indoors, but right now we do all the stuff in our main building, and it would just be an additional manufacturing space in a separate building. So we'd bring our pipe and plate in there to cut it.
I'm assuming what's in the gray to the south and the east, is that all additional outdoor proposed storage area, like laydown yards, or is that potential trucking, parking? What are you looking to do with the additional impervious area that's going to the south and the east there?
Yeah, mostly laydown yard. The only other part is the drive, the road that would go through. And then that slightly darker area is like a truck loading area, so the trucks would pull off to the side of the road there to get loaded and then pull back out. The idea is to get truck traffic off of Picture Parkway, so they would come in, document drive through our property, get loaded, and pull out onto Picture.
The material stored currently outside, any kind of chemicals or anything that could leachate into the ground, be impacted by rainwater or anything like that, or is it primarily just steel?
Yeah, just raw carbon steel, yep.
The one good thing, it's always maintained neat and clean there too. It's all organized.
So the image we're seeing in the background here is your existing operation, aerial photograph?
That's right, yep.
There hasn't been any comments you've received from the public or the town has received in regards to storage that you have right now?
Not that we're aware of.
I know you're here, you waited all this time. Would you like to say something? It's not a public hearing, but you're more than welcome to go up. I'm sorry, yeah, go up to the microphone, just give us your name and address.
To the podium.
Sorry, and I apologize if you might have said some of this. My name is Samantha Tandle. I'm the homeowner of 816 Hard Road. As I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, the people that are affected, the other families, we're just like 12 families, but just because I'm the only one here doesn't mean I'm the only one that cares. I met some of my neighbors for the first time. They were in the back, but they couldn't stay up this late at 810 Hard Road, and I spoke with my neighbors at 818 Hard Road before coming. We did positively receive the owner when he came by, and he showed us some version of this. And he was very cordial, but he also kind of made it seem like this was a very distant thing, may or may not happen kind of a thing. So now that people have had time to think about it, some of the things that we're concerned about, what I'm really concerned about is there are a lot of young children in these houses now. I've been a homeowner there for 5 years. And in the time that I've been there, the houses around me have turned over, and a lot of young families, growing families, a lot of children under the age of 10 live in there. I have 4 children under 10 myself. The traffic in the morning, I know you're going to do traffic studies and stuff like that, but we just added the medical building that, kind of off Hard Road. There was the other project we heard about earlier today, now this, with, I'm assuming, increased trucks eventually. It's already a nightmare in the morning. I've been in an accident on the way out of my driveway just because of the school traffic. There's the buses coming out and in multiple times a day. It's not just the schools across the street. All the buses that go to the Clem South and Clem North go by there too. My children's school bus has been in an accident out there. There's just a lot of traffic already. And I worry about the kids walking, playing in the yard, those kinds, if there's going to be a lot more big trucks. The other thing that the neighbor at 810 asked me to speak for, they're watching on YouTube at home now, was the noise. It's already a noisy site. I will say that we brought this up when whoever came to our house, and it does seem like it got a little bit quieter at night. But sometimes it sounds like you're dropping like the steel pipes from a great height, and I don't know if there's like a way to move them quieter, at least at night. With all the young families and stuff, it's sometimes hard. You can't have your windows open in the summer, that kind of thing. It's very loud. You can't have company. You can't have a barbecue in your backyard because it sounds like you're in an industrial zone, which, I don't know. I knew when I bought this house that eventually it probably would get developed and it could be worse, but I don't know. I just still am a little worried, I guess, about some of these things. So.
How many, are those existing, those trees that are along that property line now, Jerry, or anybody know?
No,
They're not? Okay.
there were a bunch of ash trees, both back there and in that little narrow strip along my house. They came down and cut all the dead ones, which was good because we were all worried about the safety of that. That reminds me of one other thing. I was hoping that maybe they could clean up that area in between where you're at right now with that's still all just full of downed trees and rubbish.
In the empty area?
And even way before that, it collects garbage in there. I don't like to look at it, so twice a year I go out there and pick up all the garbage. I don't know where it comes from, but it blows in there. I think there's probably a rodent problem with all the downed. My cat likes it, but I don't. So there's just another small thing. I do think they have a right to make money and use their property, but I just want them to be kind and respectful and, that kind of thing.
Well, one of the things can be done as far as you're considering, the noise and stuff, is that can be mitigated with some landscaping and stuff. They're showing some, we don't know how much, but this is just a sketch right now.
Right, yeah.
When they get a final, a preliminary drawing, it can show adequate to, subdue some of the sound, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sure enough, thanks for coming up.
I just have a couple of comments, on Document Drive with a bus garage there every morning and every afternoon. You'll have over 100 buses going out of the garage there to the schools around Webster. So that road is very busy. And also being by the highway department, we have a leaf pickup in the fall there, and the leaves are stored at the highway department. And about every 3 weeks, they go around and they turn the leaves over, so that afternoon you have a very organic smell throughout the
Where's
whole
our mulch pit,
neighborhood.
right?
Yep.
It's not just for 15 minutes in the morning, it's for an hour and a half in the morning and a afternoon.
Oh, yeah, and then they come back too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Does this business, is this a one shift or a 3 shift operation, or?
Yeah, 2 shifts right now.
They start
to what?
Start.
Yeah, 6:30 a.m. and then B shift ends at 11:30 p.m.
So when you're working the night shift, they're not doing, as she just spoke, they're not dropping metal and.
Yeah, we have told them multiple times that they need to keep it quiet. We have tried to enforce it multiple times with our employees, just telling them to keep it quiet after 8 p.m., but I can do a better job of that and
Okay.
tell
Well,
them.
that would be something maybe possible.
Yeah, B shift is quite a bit smaller as well. It's a lot less employees than A shift, so.
Okay.
Do you have trucking operations during B shift as well, as in trucks pulling in, pulling out?
They would maybe pull in, but no unloading or loading.
Do you guys work on weekends at all?
No, not recently.
Okay. What's your next step now? Just move forward with the.
Our next step right now is that if we get clearance, question becomes what, if anything, goes to the zoning board and what do you keep here? We've requested 2 interpretations. As far as I know, our site plan itself doesn't require any variances. It's just a question as to whether the outdoor staging is something which would be handled as something which is same and similar as the existing use, and the question of how we deal with the expansion of the building. I know Josh has a viewpoint on the expansion of the building, so I don't want to preempt him from commenting if he wants to. But, you know, if we get interpretations the way we are looking for, we keep it all here. If not, we're going to the zoning board. But we need, from here, we go into full design, we go and analyze wetlands, we go and analyze all those other elements that we need to do to have a good preliminary submission to deal with seeker and everything else on this site.
Okay.
The only building that's 45,000 square feet would be the original building.
Correct. The larger building right now is a 60,000 square foot building. We'd be talking about adding 21,000 square feet to it. Everything else is well under the 45,000 square foot threshold.
Okay. So that, I guess you need a variance for that then, right?
Well, yes, the town's position is that the building expansion would trigger the need for, essentially, there is a provision in town code, an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming structure.
Mhm.
So I think that portion is clear.
CBA.
The outdoor staging, as Mr. Goldman mentioned, we do not have a definition of outdoor storage, so.
My interpretation of that would be that it's staging area. It's no different than the highway department, or like Dave said, the school buses.
Okay.
It's a staging area. I don't know, how anybody else, your opinion on that? Give them a consensus, maybe eliminate the zoning board if possible.
I agree.
Dresden?
I would say let the zoning board weigh their opinion on it as well. I mean, the difference here between school buses and highway operations, again, is the use of the material, especially for public good here. This is specifically business, and this is raw material that is then also being manufactured, and then you have something potentially staged outside that is then going to be loaded up and sent off. So I can relate to the difficulty of determining whether it is staging or if it is storage, but it sounds like we have to go to ZBA.
So your
regardless.
opinion is it needs to go to the zoning board. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. How is this like pipes or whatever that you're storing outside, or metal, or?
Yep.
Is
Pipes
there,
and
I mean,
plates.
this is the neighborhood now, there's kids around. What's to stop kids come in there, like on weekends or at nights, and playing on this stuff that's staged outside?
John, the stuff has been there for 15 years.
Yeah, it's nothing new.
Okay, well, we're gonna have a lot more of it though, obviously.
I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, right.
So you're electing the two definitions or the one definition? This,
I'm sorry.
for the definitions you're looking for, is it just
Yeah.
for storage or for the staging? Is it-
Well, our view is that it's staging, and therefore the planning board should take hold of that, and there's no need to get the zoning board involved in that issue.
I guess-
Clearly, it looks like we are going to the zoning board relative to the building addition, and if that is the case, we would request that this board consider a recommendation in favor of that when we, you know, at this point, after the concept review, because what that does is that it increases the amount of area which is inside. Also, visually, it's not obtrusive because it is all right behind the existing building. It's not like we're expanding the visual footprint of it.
Is there a neighboring community that has a definition?
There are. There are lots of codes that define what outdoor storage is. You don't really see a whole lot which just say outdoor storage and don't define it. It's you know, here's just been an undefined term.
Is this use consistent with the other definitions that you've seen?
Yeah, the other definitions vary in terms of what's going on. They talk about storage of materials, and they also can be somewhat vague in terms of how they deal with it.
Well, again, if we're leaving the interpretation to this board, then I'd take a poll of the board and see where we are with it. I don't want to see government getting involved in every step of the way. If we don't need to go to the zoning board, why are we going to the zoning board? It's a simple thing. It's just an interpretation.
Yeah.
The size, that's a set thing, that I understand.
I'll acknowledge that in
You know?
terms of, I think the town staff's interpretation has merit when
There's
it
an
comes to
existing
that.
business that's been, how many years have you guys been there?
2004.
How many?
20 years.
24 years. There's been no
20
issues
years.
with it. The same stuff has been out there is what we're talking about. So now we're gonna say, now go get a zoning board after 24 years to get an approval for it?
Well, that kind of goes back to my original question on this, is I'm looking at it saying it's been there for so long.
Yeah, I'm
There's
sorry.
never been a complaint about it.
No.
The town hasn't had to do any kind of action on
No.
it. So therefore, by default, it meets whatever definition is available.
Peggy, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, you're not anticipating the third shift at any point.
No.
Okay.
No.
And you're not gonna, how many people will be added for the new operation overall?
Not any immediately, it'll just depend on how the market goes. If we
Okay.
grow, then we'll add some, but yeah, definitely not a third shift at this point.
Okay. Yeah, then,
I don't see a problem with outdoor storage there, the staging area.
Okay, I feel the same way. I don't know. Mark?
If it works, don't break it.
yep.
It's a good interpretation. John?
Yeah, that's fine, I agree with Mark.
So you want to, Joyce, well, you prefer it went to the zoning board, I guess, but.
Yeah, I guess my hesitance there is just if it's a way to limit it to the raw material of the steel that's there and not, let's say, if there's a future expansion, all of a sudden there's a new product that they're looking to manufacture and requires some additional outdoor storage that is outside of what we're currently seeing there. You know, is there a way to say, yeah, it's outdoor storage because it's a raw material, it's steel, instead of all of a sudden you see containers out there for something and it should have been in an enclosed storage space.
I don't, so far, is a rough poll here. I'd say that the board's interpretation is, it does not need
If
to
you
go
can
to the zoning
document, if you
board.
can document that in some way for us, that would be great, so that we can take that, not
Well,
necessarily take that to
no,
the bank, but take it.
I will
take
make a
it in.
motion that the board make a determination for the ideal group subdivision that the outdoor storage be considered as a staging area.
Well, why don't we just call it outdoor staging?
Call it out as what?
Outdoor staging as
Outdoor
opposed to,
staging,
yeah.
okay, just a different word. Okay, that being a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Want to call the roll? I don't know.
Mr. Kashani.
Aye.
Mr. Kosel.
Aye.
Mr. Malta.
Aye.
Mr. Giardina.
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Mr. Gasket.
Aye.
Mrs. Maltman.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you. And I assume that what this means is that we're authorized to go forward and put in a preliminary
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
application.
you.
right?
Yes.
Ultimately,
What'd you
when we're
say?
ready.
I'm sorry, go ahead, repeat
I'm
that,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I wasn't.
I'm sorry?
No, he was
Go ahead,
talking,
repeat
he
it.
was talking to me, I didn't hear you. What were you
Okay, okay. I just want to say, I assume that now we're authorized to go ahead, having gone through the concept, to deal with filing a preliminary application on this.
Go through, yep.
Okay.
Are they still going to the zoning board for the expansion?
Yes.
Yeah.
We will need to go to the zoning board for expansion. Whether we wind up doing that between preliminary and final,
Yep,
or
yep.
do that before preliminary, I don't know at this point.
Well, we'll get together, I'll be talking to Josh, and we'll see in regard to the board sending a letter in support of it,
We would appreciate it.
so we'll see where that goes. Okay.
We would appreciate it.
All right, I guess that's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you, and we'll talk with we'll continue talking with our neighbors. As a matter of fact, that will start right now. Thank
Okay,
you very
we'll talk to
much.
you fellas soon.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of the meeting minutes from February 4th, 2025.
I'll second it.
You have a second, all in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay, then we're done with the minutes, we're done, I guess that's it, we're all set. And if you before 9:30, so thanks for coming in this evening. Yeah, right.